Welcome to the third video in our competitive intelligence series. Today we're going to explore how to use our scatter plot charts to understand your competitive landscape and make data-driven decisions to improve your position in the market. They let us compare any two metrics to see how they relate to each other and what that means for your business. So we're inside the overview of our segment. Scroll down to how the competition stacks up. Remember that these orange dots show your product or products, which you select over in products, pin products. If you want to pin different products, just head over to all products and you can pin from there. Now let's dive into some useful scatterplot comparisons and what they can tell you about your market. So let's start with average price versus revenue. This comparison helps us understand if charging more actually leads to earning more, something that every seller wants to know. So here's an example from hip and joint supplements for dogs. With revenue on the x-axis and average price on the y-axis, we're looking here for patterns. If you see products that follow a diagonal line through the middle, that means that as prices go up, revenue increases proportionally. But that's not what we see here. Instead, we notice that as prices get higher, revenue often doesn't increase, suggesting that this market might be price sensitive. Next, let's look for pricing sweet spots. These are basically price ranges where multiple products seem to be finding success. Let's check out this board games for adults segment. We can see that there's a cluster of products here priced between $14 to $17, and they're all generating between $500,000 to around $1.3 million in revenue. Now, I realize this isn't the strongest example of a pricing cluster, but hopefully you get the idea of what to look for in your own market. Now let's see if any products might be leaving money on the table. So back to our hip and joint supplements, we'll see that our pin product here might just be doing that. We can see a lot of products here that are making more revenue with lower price points. This supplement is from the company You Move, and their higher pricing strategy might actually be holding them back. We can see here that Nutrimax is only $5 cheaper, but generates significantly more revenue. And there are other products here that are doing the same, slightly lower prices, but more revenue. So it could be worth You Move testing different price points to see if they can generate more revenue overall. Now, next up is price versus units sold. While this might seem similar to price versus revenue, it can tell a different story, especially when products have varying price points. Here, we're mainly looking for price sensitivity in the market. Let's take a look at this garden tool sets segment. The price sensitivity here is really clear. We can see that higher prices don't lead to more sales. And once you hit about $35, sales actually tend to decline after that. But let's contrast this with hip supplements, which is a little different. We can see more products here that have been able to maintain higher sales even at higher price points. Then in this face moisturizer segment, we see many products have successfully increased both sales and their price up to around about $25 before sales start dropping off at higher prices. When you see this kind of negative correlation between price and units sold, it suggests that customers in your market are price sensitive. They're more likely to buy it when prices are lower. This is super valuable information to have about your market when planning your pricing strategy. Next, let's check out reviews versus market share. First, we want to understand if more reviews correlates to higher market share. Here's a pet bowls segment where our pin product leads in both market share and reviews. And then along this diagonal, we also see a few other products which might suggest that more reviews often means more market share. However, there seems to be a stronger trend in this cluster of products over here that are achieving high market share with fewer reviews, hinting that after around 2,000 reviews, or maybe after 1,300 if we exclude these two, that having additional reviews may not drive more market share. It seems to plateau or even trend down after this point. Now, this face moisturizer segment shows an even clearer pattern where more reviews do tend to mean higher market share. This makes sense in beauty products where customers often rely heavily on reviews for their purchasing decisions. Now, the next thing that you can check for is if products are succeeding despite having fewer reviews. Let's look at board games here. While some products follow the more reviews equals more share pattern, in my opinion, there's actually a stronger trend here of products succeeding with fewer reviews. And back in our hip supplement segment, despite having a huge review advantage, we can see that our product hasn't translated that into higher market share or revenue. And that seems to be a trend in this segment where more reviews only incrementally increases market share. But let's compare that to the face moisturizer segment where reviews do seem to have a stronger connection to market share. Understanding these patterns in your specific market can help you understand if you're underperforming given your review count, how much to focus on review generation, and if so, what your specific targets should be. Is there a point of diminishing returns beyond a certain number of reviews? Finally, let's look at units sold versus market share. This view helps you understand how many units you need to sell in order to hit your market share goals. In pet bowls, for example, let's say that you're lower down here and you want to reach 5% in market share. Here you can easily see exactly how many units you'd need to sell in order to reach that target. This view also helps you check if you're getting the market share you deserve for your sales volume. For example, let's check out these kettlebells. Here's two products with only 700 units difference in annual sales, but one owns 11% of the market while the other has just 2.7%. What's the difference? Their price. So if we quickly switch to the price view, we can see that one is $116 versus $27 for the other. Now this higher price kettlebell might be an outlier as there's not many products near it on the graph. But even if we exclude that one and just look at the main cluster of products here, we'll see that our pin product still falls below the trend line. They should probably have around 5% of market share for their sales volume. This tells me that they might want to revisit